So tonight did not go how I expected it to go. I kind of expected that something like this could happen, which is, what I'm going to talk about later. But so basically, the confrontation happened. It happened. It's been boiling for God knows how long. And it happened. So, I got there. I got to the deli 2 minutes late. And today was not the easiest day for me because my hands have been not in the best state. It's been a little painful, I'm not gonna lie. So, it's not a great day for me. And I got there, and my intention was I'm not killing myself to do this job. That's just what it is. I'm not going to kill myself to do this job. I'm going to do what I can, but we'll see what happens. And, I had to deal with a decent amount of customers here and there. I had to do all the things that I normally did, right? I cleaned the countertops and the scales. I cleaned the glasses, which I didn't really go over them again. So, oops on that part, I guess. But I wasn't staying there another fucking minute. So, I did that, and I was wrapping meats, and I was taking a little bit of extra time. I won't lie. But it's not like I was sitting there doing nothing. I was getting rid of some of the crumbs that we have kind of in our case. So, I was still doing stuff. I just wasn't moving at a breakneck pace. That's all. And it also doesn't help that I kept getting interrupted when I was trying to do the slicer. I was cleaning the slicer after I took my bathroom break. And the one thing I noticed, right, is I come back from my bathroom break and I'm about to start working on the slicer and take the parts off, and my coworker did it while I was helping a customer. And I was like, that's a little bizarre. And so, I was working on the slicer. It's not like I wasn't doing my job. And I just kept getting interrupted. I had a couple customers come here and there. It's whatever, right? That's what happens sometimes. And there was one customer that came by, and I was fucking... what's it called? I was helping them, and then he just started cleaning the slicer. And I was like, that's a little weird. So I was like, alright, whatever, then I'll start working on the cheese slicer then. So I started working on cheese slicer, and I was working on it, and then eventually he just decides to come over and starts getting pissed at me. He's saying, oh, you're slowing down, and, you gotta speed up, dude, because you're too slow. And I'm like, what? And he started to lose it. He started yelling at me. He started talking about how the coworker that I like has said that he is so tired of me and that he's getting sick of working with me. And I was like, that's not what he told me. And he was freaking out. So he was saying, oh, are you gonna, what's it called? You want to work on Saturday? Because I don't want to work on Saturday with the other coworker. That he doesn't like either. He's like, oh, you want to work on Saturday? Because I don't feel like working on Saturday. I was like, okay, sure. And basically for most of the rest of the night, he was just texting, people. So, there's probably going to be some form of confrontation, I would guess, with management here. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I can say is I know who's showing up to that store tomorrow. It's me, because I want to get my side of the story in to tell them what the hell was going on. It's not like I was doing anything particularly egregious, and he was leaving a bunch of times. And he's accusing me of not doing my job. Yes, I was a little slower today. I'm sorry that my hands, are kind of in pain. I'm sorry that I'm working a fucking 5-hour shift with a guy who doesn't help me with customers at all. But that shit was ridiculous. And he was getting pissed at me like, you better do the spoons. And I was like, okay, well, if I have time, I will. I should have said, sorry, I don't have time. I really should have done that, and I didn't. But just how rude he was to me was baffling. It was fucking baffling, dude. I can't believe it. But I knew this whole time, I could tell that underneath that kind of veil of semi-kindness, because it wasn't even really kindness, but I could tell underneath what he was saying, he fucking despised me. And now I know it was absolutely true. I know he was freaking out. So, yeah. But he's sitting there saying, you're too slow, you're too slow. I literally watched this guy. I was cleaning the cheese slicer. I watched this guy for like 20 minutes cleaning a fucking table. Like, you spray some stuff, you wipe it, maybe, okay, you get the scale, okay, spray the scale, clean the scale, get under the scale. That does not take 20 minutes. I finished an entire slicer before this guy finished the fucking table. And you're calling me slow? It was ridiculous. But, see, here's the thing. I had a feeling that something like this could happen. And there's been a couple days where I've felt something like this could happen. Because I knew at some point he was going to blow up on me. I just didn't know when it was going to be. And so it wasn't every time I was working with him. But sometimes when I would work with him, I would keep my phone recording. And this originally was a thing that happened on accident. I was working in the morning one day. It was the first time I'd ever worked in the morning. I was like, whew, this is crazy. And, I pissed, and I looked at my phone, and I was like, oh my god, my phone has been recording for 3 hours. Oh shit. So, that happened. And, I've had that happen like maybe 2 or 3 more times on accident. But it made me realize, when I'm working with this guy, I should be doing that. Because who knows what's going to happen. There will come a day where he blows up on me and he gets pissed at me. And that happened to be today. And that's why I was recording the whole thing. Now, I don't know how good the audio is. Probably not great because my phone is in my pocket. But the thing is, when he confronted me, he was on my left side. And that was the side where my phone is. So I'm pretty sure that my phone probably picked up at least some of it. And so, yeah. I have that now as evidence. I didn't say anything particularly egregious. I just said, sure, I laughed when he said that he did 90% of the slicer, because he fucking didn't. And then he just started blowing up on me. And now I have that. So, yeah. But, supposedly he is, contacting a lot of people right now because he's having, troubles with somebody else right now. So, take a guess who that somebody is. He's probably complaining to fucking everybody he can right now. And you know what I say to that? Let me just... Windows are unblurred and everything. You know what? This actually, yeah. That's what I think of you. Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. You have been such a piece of shit to me. You have been such a piece of shit to your coworkers. You have been such a piece of shit to so many customers. You have piled so much work on me and my other coworkers, and we're sick of it. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. So, yeah. I don't care. I am just glad that we finally got through this weird fucking tension that has gone on for like 8 months at this point. And the thing is, I know that everybody else is gonna have my back. Nobody in the deli likes this guy. So, we'll see what happens. But, let's say on the off chance that some crazy shit happens, right? They completely side with him and they fire me. I don't care. Okay. You know what? I'll go find another job, and you're gonna be stuck with this guy who's a piece of shit, who does not treat customers well and is slow, by the way. He is so much slower than me. And, enjoy that. And meanwhile, somewhere else is going to be lucky to have me. Because I've seen so many people come and they've said, oh my God, you're the best. There was literally a woman that came yesterday. And she was like, don't go. But, we need you. Like, we want you to stay here. We want you to be here all the time. Don't leave again. I was like, I wish I could. So, yeah. It's crazy, dude. All that I know is that I'm just happy that it's been exposed now. That it's been exposed what he thinks of me. Because now I know that I don't really need to, be nice to him anymore. I was a little nice to him when I left, to be honest. I shouldn't have even said anything. I should have just done this to him, bro. But yeah. I kind of felt like this could happen, but I'm still surprised that it did. Also, I just realized that the AC was on, and it was on this, so the audio was probably horrible, and I don't think I care. It's been a long day, okay? I'm tired, my hands are fucked up because of this job. And it's not like, oh, my hands are fucked up, and it's like my hands just look completely normal. It's not like, oh, I broke my finger, and it's like my finger's fine. You can tell that my hands are fucked up. And like just moving them like this, that is like painful for my knuckles. Because they're all dry and fucked up. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're pissed about that, but what do you want from me? They scheduled me 5 hours. I'm not in the greatest state in the world. And, when you are treating me like a piece of shit, makes me want to do even less. But I am going in tomorrow. Not to work, but to talk to management and explain my side of the story. Because, you know, he's going to try and perpetuate a narrative that I'm slow and that, you know, almost leaked my coworker's name, I'm not going to do that. That my other coworker hates me and, you know, all this shit. Probably try to get me fired, to get me reduced hours or whatever. And I want to explain my side of the story and say, look, I honestly don't really want to work with this guy anymore. He gets so pissed at me. And thing is, I essentially I've been leaving him the same work that my other coworker has to do. You know, I mean, sometimes, like, I help my other coworker as much as I can. And he knows that. He is fucking bastard. Which, you know, I've already leaked his name before, so I'll just say it, Brian. This fucking bastard, Brian. He tried to say that, oh, you know, your other coworker hates you. You know, he doesn't want to work with you because you're too slow. And I know that that's not fucking true at all. Okay? Literally, the first night I was there, he was like, you know, I like working with you, dude. You're good. And I was like, what? What? And then I found out why, because of this fucking asshole Brian. So, yeah. I know that that's not true. This guy hated me so much. He would not be like, yeah, you know, we got these free bags of tortilla chips for, you know, our associate thing for this week, our associate offer. Here, take mine. He would not, you know, want to pay me for driving him to the bus. He would not, I mean, he bought me a Gatorade last night too. He was like, what you want to drink? I was like, I guess a Gatorade? He was like, okay. I don't think that he would do that if he fucking hated me. Because he doesn't hate me. I don't know, man. And, you know, my other coworker has said too. He said that you know, that guy, Brian, he has a mental problem. He has anger issues. And I witnessed that today. So, we'll see what happens. They might not schedule us together anymore. And that's the case. You know, I'll take that. But then my other coworker, he's gonna suffer. I mean, frankly, they should really just fire this guy. I'm just being honest. They should just fire him. You know? We can have 3 people working the night shift. 3 people that all like each other. And it'll be no problem. You know? Like last night, me and my coworker, we talked a fair amount, you know? And we finished at like a couple minutes before I had to leave. Which, technically we're not really supposed to do that because we're not supposed to close slicers that early. But the point is, we finished pretty early. And that wouldn't happen if I was so slow like this guy says. But I have to say that my other coworker was absolutely spot on, because he was saying that this guy is going to say that I am slow. And he's going to complain to managers that I'm slow. Well, now that's exactly what he's doing. But I'm telling you that I will end up getting the last laugh. You know? He thinks he's all high and mighty. We'll see what happens. Or, you know, I mean, in the worst case scenario for me, technically, if I end up having to leave the job or whatever, well, guess what, buddy? Guess what? You're gonna have to deal with somebody that's probably worse. Because, dude, I put up with his shit for far too long. And as soon as I stopped, as soon as I said, you know what, you do the floor. You know what, I'm not killing myself to do all this work. Now he's freaking out. So, I don't know. I also, I just can't help but find it funny. He's like, I did more than you. It's like, who helped most of the customers here? Who did that? And then still did a bunch of cleaning too? You know, and it's not like I've never done his job before. Because I have. Because last Thursday, he called out. And I had to do his job for the first time. And I did it faster than him. I did it faster than him, bro. So, it's just, this guy's so full of shit. And, you know, I think, I feel like the winds are going to be changing. I have honestly become very spiteful in recent times. I think there's been a number of reasons for it. I feel like a lot of things in my life suddenly changed last month. And it just kind of left me feeling like shit. And now, I don't really give as much of a fuck. And that's why I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go in on these days, and I'm not gonna kill myself for it. And I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna leave him more to do. He's done it to me, I'm gonna do it to him. I still will never forget that day that he was fucking yelling at me. I'll never forget the day that he kept leaving all the fucking time. Never forget the day he pushed all that work onto me and I had to finish it all insanely quick. I'm not doing that again. I'm never doing that again. I don't care. You know? I held my ground today. So, you know, I didn't say, you know, you're a piece of shit, go fuck yourself or anything like that. I didn't get aggressive to him. But, you know, I held my ground. So, with that, I think I'm gonna get out of here. Because I gotta go home. And I gotta get ready for tomorrow. Because we're going back there tomorrow and we're gonna have some talks. I'm gonna have some talks with some people there. Because, you know, I think my side of the story needs to be explained. So, that's all. And, you know, the great thing too, is I've got evidence. I've got the evidence. So, it's been the trump card I've been holding on to this entire time. And now I'm gonna get to use it. So, oh man. Oh man. So, yeah, with that, wish me luck. I'm gonna redo the parking brake, dude. Okay, I think that's alright. I'm gonna go get ready for tomorrow. Wish me luck. Okay, so I wanted to make an update after what happened. I didn't even get to post that last video. You know, the part that you saw before this. Because, well, you know, this morning I went to work to go talk to my bosses. But before I get to that, I have to talk about kind of the aftermath of last night. Because I got home and, oh man, I'm bleeding. Bro, look at this cut. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And that's just from my hands being dry as fuck. Hate it. So, basically, what happened Oh shit. I just had a thought. I gotta call my coworker after this. I'm gonna call my other coworker to tell him, like, listen, this guy's losing his fucking mind. Just be on your guard. Um, so I just remember that, and yeah. So anyways, I got home from work last night. I was talking to my parents about it. And then I went in my room and I was just kind of preparing what I was going to say tomorrow because, yeah, I had a lot of things I felt like I needed to say. I didn't know how it was going to go. And, like, I'm not going to come in there with a fucking thing of notes like, so he said this to me and this to me and this to me and this to me. And then they'll be like, what the hell? Why'd you prepare a whole list of things? Like, so, I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to mentally kind of prepare for what I was going to say. And to be honest, I kind of didn't really do it that well, and I just ended up going off the top of my head anyway. So, the one thing I wanted to do beforehand was make a transcript and, listen back to those recordings. And it was something. And to be honest, you know what? I'm actually going to read them. Just so you can hear what this guy was saying to me, right? Because it was definitely a little crazy, right? So, there I am. I'm working on the cheese slicer. And, this guy, he just kind of out of nowhere says, Can you do the spoons after you finish that, please? And I said, all right, well, I still have to finish wrapping the meats. And I had 3 meats left to wrap. So, and then he was like, you go home in an hour. You got to get all that done. I just said, all right. And he said, you gotta be quicker, dude. And I was trying to say, well, I've been busy. So. And then he cut me off. Said, oh no, you've got way too. And then he said, dude, look at how much I got done compared to you tonight. Or today. Look how much I got done compared to you today. Come on. I cleaned off that slicer for you, 90% of it. And I was like, not 90%. Because, as I mentioned, right, I'd cleaned off the slicer of the crumbs. I'd scrubbed the slicer with soap and, a sponge. And I had dried it off, and I was spraying it with sanitizer, which is like 80% of the way there, because it's just like you spray it, you dry it off again, and then you sanitize the stuff, the table and stuff. That's it. I was like 80% of the way done. And he's trying to act like he did 90% of it, which is ridiculous. So then, I'm like, not 90%. And then he says, oh, don't stand there with your arm like that, which I guess, like, you can hear in the recording that, like, I moved my arm somewhere. So I might have been like this, but, lower. Or I might have just had my arm on my hip or something. And, he's getting pissy at me. I'm telling him, I had it almost done. I was sanitizing it. And then he's like, you're too slow, dude. Bottom line, I'm not, insert other night coworker here. I'm not going to do all your work for you. And when he said that, I'm just like, I just like laughed because I'm like, what? What? Like, yeah, he totally does all my work for me. He totally is not telling me every time, oh yeah, dude, you always do so much work, it's so much better work with you than this other guy. And I can't remember if I said it last night or not, but if this guy hated me, And this guy hated working with me. Do you think he would be buying me drinks all the time? Do you think he would be buying me other things, like giving me chocolates and stuff? Do you think he would be paying me when I drive him to the bus? You know, which most of the time I would not take the payment. But, like, there are a couple times where he was like, you know, I'll pay you because it's basically like an Uber driver, you know, if you come back and you get me. So, he was trying to say that my other coworker hates me, which I think was an attempt to fuck with me, probably. To be like, oh, you know, see, he hates you too. He secretly hates you, even though he said, like, literally, I'm not even joking, right? On the first day I had ever worked in the deli, right? I had one day of the shitty computer training, and I had one day of, I'm plugging in this phone, give me a second. There we go. It was at 10%. Woo! Saved. So, also I can probably, well, no, I'm not going to unplug the car, actually, or I'm not going to turn off the car, actually, because I'm charging this now. He started telling me that my other coworker, he's sick of it too, and, you know, I'm just like, sure. And he said, you don't think so? I said, not what he tells me. He said, oh yeah? What does he tell you? I said, he tells me I do a lot of work. And then he said, oh good. It's not what he tells me. And I just said, huh. And he said, don't be such a wise guy, dude. You're standing there like you're gonna, or standing there like you wanna, and then he didn't say whatever after that. He said, I'm not gonna argue with you. And I was just like, you're the person that started the argument. You started saying I'm too slow and you're complaining when nobody else in the whole department is saying that, bro. And he says, oh, next Saturday you want to work with the guy that I hate because they scheduled them together? So I said, sure. And then he's like, I'm not going to work Saturday. You come in. I said, all right. He said, all right, you can have every Saturday with him, okay? I said, yeah. He said, until I decide I want to work Saturday again, all right? I said, okay. I said, tell our boss. Actually, I'm going to text him right now. And then he proceeded for the next, like, hour to be on his phone, just, you know, and he's leaving, which he's sitting there saying, oh my God, you're not doing any fucking work. You're making me do all the work. Meanwhile, I have been helping almost every single customer. He helped like maybe 3 or 4. You know, most of those are probably from when I went to the bathroom. So he's helping like 3 or 4 customers at most. He did a couple cleaning things, which, by the way, right? Because yesterday, the woman who was there in the morning, she left early. So they brought up the guy from the kitchen, Jose. They brought him. And when I got there, I saw he was helping Brian clean some of his stuff, like cleaning the sandwich table and all that. So he was doing even less, you know, than normal, because he wasn't even doing that. He cleaned like part of it. So then, you know, that all unfolded, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I mean, I'm pissed that this guy is like, it's like insinuating that I'm not doing any work and that everybody hates me, which is not true. Which, probably gonna get more confirmation when I end up calling my coworker after this. So then, later on, this guy, he comes by. This guy who works in front end, he comes by. He comes to the counter, he's talking to Brian. And he says, Brian, do you have any information? And then Brian's like, about what? And he's like, about the store. He said, no. The front end guy's like, no? And then they're talking about something. You can't really hear it very well because it was muffled because I was moving as it was happening. And he says, "Oh, that. No, there's other stuff I'm having Chris talk." And then he cut himself off when he said Chris talk, and then he changed it to work on for me. And so the guy's like, "Oh, what? Having the store closing something." It was hard for me to hear. I couldn't really transcribe it very well. But then Brian responds with, "No, personnel dispute." So instantly I was like, okay, that's me. So he's talking about me. And then this guy responds with, "Personnel? Somebody's getting fired?" And here's the thing, right? When I heard this last night, I was like half paying attention, half not, because I was like, I'm leaving in like a couple minutes and I'm just trying to clean off the countertops. And then I listened to it a couple times to make sure. And he said, "Yup." And he didn't directly say, "I'm trying to get you fired," right? But he basically implied that. Because personnel dispute, who does that apply to apart from me? Because, he's texting the whole time. That probably applies to me. And if he's talking about trying to get somebody fired by going likely through the union, because I assume the Chris he's talking about is our union rep. Well, that seems to be what it is. He's trying to get me fired, which is ridiculous. And I'll get back to it later. But yeah. So then they go on talking about, oh, is the other guy who is the other guy that works here still here? And he's like, oh, they bumped him out of here. And he's like, oh, he's just in seafood now. Big mistake. And the other guy says, well, they must have needed him. And then Brian says, no, they just don't have anyone that really wanted to do anything. And then he says, they'll learn. Well, they're gonna learn. Oh, that's a train. I didn't even hear that. Holy shit. This is... Oh, well now I heard it. This is the stealthiest train I've ever seen in my life, bro. I didn't even know what was happening. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, what the hell is that? So, yeah. This guy was pretty nasty to me. And, he's angry that I'm not doing all my work now because I'm taking breaks. God forbid. What a horrible sin. Taking breaks. Like, before I was doing something that was not sustainable. And that is one of the things I told my boss I'll get back to. It was not sustainable. I was literally every day, or not every day, but almost every day, I would come out with a water bottle that looked like this. And you know why that's significant? Because it's not open. It's not open, it's full. And I was doing that every day. Because I had no time to drink water. I had no time to drink water. If I was lucky, maybe I would get to go to the bathroom, but usually most of the time I wasn't going to the bathroom when I was with this guy. And forget about the breaks. I was almost never taking my breaks. Maybe if I get lucky, I would take a 15-minute break, or if I had a lunch, I would try to finish at 9:30. Other than that, I was not taking breaks. Not taking all the breaks that I should. And it was not sustainable. So, started taking my breaks, started drinking water, I started going to the bathroom. And I also was not killing myself to get everything done. Which my boss has directly told me, don't kill yourself over this. Do not work yourself to death for this job. It's not worth it. And I didn't listen to him, and I didn't listen to the like our front end bookkeeper either when she was telling me, just tell me you got to take your breaks. You know, it's important that you take your breaks. I was like, because the thing is, I didn't want to leave people. I didn't want to leave anybody in the deli. But now I'm doing that, and I'm not, you know, going crazy, sometimes literally running in the deli to get things done. Like, I will never forget the night when he yelled at me because I wasn't closing the cheese slicer and it was like 7:30 and I was helping a customer and he's like freaking out. And he was yelling at me. And then he's leaving half the time, you know? And then he's leaving me to do all the work. And I was just like, wow. What a piece of shit, you know? That is a night I will never forget. When he was yelling at me like that. That was crazy. So that all goes down, right? And apart from that, right? He is also complaining that I am not doing my work and I'm slowing down. And listen, here's the thing, right? He can say that all he wants, right? And to an extent, it is true. But it's not like I'm just sitting there doing nothing like this, you know? I'm not doing that. I am doing my work not at the fastest pace ever, but I'm doing my work. And, you know, I got a decent amount done. And so, my, you know, my main thing was I wanted to tell them, right? I wanted to tell my managers about what was going on. Unfortunately, the store manager wasn't there today, so this isn't even going to be the end of this saga probably, because I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow when I'm working. So that's going to be very interesting. But on the bright side, my boss was there today. So, you know, my department manager. So I found him, I started talking to him, and that was the thing I stressed with when I opened. Is that you told me, don't kill yourself for this job. Do not work yourself to death. And I was doing that, and it was unsustainable. And I started taking my breaks. You know, I started listening to the bookkeeper. I started taking my breaks. I'm not killing myself for this job. And, you know, means I'm not doing everything that I used to. And so he kind of, it seemed like he didn't really want to go on and on and on about it. Because I've already talked about this before with him, right? I've talked about this several times. He knows. So I'm talking to him about this again. And, you know, he kind of is like, you know, just not going super crazy about it. But I told him that he was getting very angry at me last night, basically. And, you know, that it's not good. And he was talking about how he does this with everybody. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. And he also told me specifically about what kind of triggered the thing when I mentioned the coworker he hates. The reason why he hates that guy is because when this guy was in training, he called him an idiot. So I got a little bit of lore about that. So he called this guy an idiot, and then this guy told our boss, and our boss went to Brian, said, "Did you call him an idiot?" And then he was, you know, apparently he's like, "Oh, well, you know," and he said, "Did you call him an idiot?" He's like, well, no, he's like, did you call him an idiot? He's like, well, yeah, but, like, well, you deserve whatever's coming to you. And he was telling me, right? He literally said, you know, if he wants to, if he wants to go beat you up in the parking lot, right? If he wants to go fucking fight you in the parking lot, you brought it upon yourself. Which I found hilarious. But I got a little bit of lore about that. And I told my boss, one of the main things I told him, I don't want to work with him anymore. Because I'm tired of having to do most of the work, and I don't like the way he's treating me. And he's irrational, and I don't particularly feel safe working with him, especially in an environment with knives and sharp objects and blades and heavy objects, chemicals. I don't really want to work with that. So that's what we're doing. And he's like, at this point, Brian is soon going to be working with himself, working by himself, because nobody wants to work with him. So, yeah, I honestly just, I was glad to see that he definitely is on my side. And I told him as well. I told him about the thing that he's trying to get me fired, apparently, right? And that he was trying to contact their union rep, I guess, to get me fired. And he's like, don't even worry about that. He is going to get fired way before you. He has a list of things, right, that he has done over the years. And he even told me, by the way, he told me in the first 10 minutes of him arriving on Wednesday, he got 2 complaints from customers. What? In 10 minutes? I mean, dude, there's also a day I won't forget, which I believe it was New Year's Day, I think. Pretty sure it was New Year's Day. Yeah, it was. Because he had to leave early, right? And so I had gone there early and I had to take a lunch break. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go take my lunch because, I want to take it while you're here because otherwise I can't take it. So I left for my lunch. I went to my car. I ate some popcorn chicken, or actually, no, I think it was chicken tenders, whatever. I don't know. Thanks, Jose. Thank you. But I eat those. Before I come back, I was like, I'm going to go to the cooler. I'm going to bring down some cheese. I'm coming back. I punched out of my lunch. Coming back to the deli. I've got the cheese in my hands. Dude, that bird's got something in its mouth. Whoa. No. Fuck, I was going to take a picture of it. Oh, well. So, I am, I'm there, right? I'm coming back with the cheese, and I see the closing manager, that same bookkeeper that told me, you should be taking your breaks. She was in the deli, and there was clearly something going on. Turns out, in just the 30 minutes that I left, on a slower night, right, New Year's Day, not really that crazy, he managed to get in a fight with a customer. But, 2 complaints in 10 minutes just this week is ridiculous. What the fuck is that? 2 complaints? I have barely gotten any complaints as far as I can tell, right? And I have so many customers. They're there's literally a woman that was talking to me yesterday. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday. Or not yesterday, but Friday. Literally mentioned to me, don't leave. We want you to stay here. She literally said that to me. And I was like, I wish I could. I wish they could get me more hours. I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. Just to see that stark contrast. people, like, customers are, like, wanting me to be there more. And then meanwhile, like, he's getting, like, shitloads of complaints. That was crazy to me. But he has a whole laundry list of things he has done. And, you know, customers he's pissed off. And so my manager told me he's going to get fired way before you ever do. So I think my job is okay. I think I'll probably be fine. But, you know, that was kind of the gist of it. Realistically, I didn't talk to him that long because, you know, he's busy. He's got stuff to do. But he said, you know, how aggressively do you want me to confront him about this? And he was like, because I don't want to, you know, if you don't want to, I don't want to say, you know, Teddy told me this, Teddy told me that. I said, honestly, like, I don't really care. If you want to, you know, say my name in it, whatever. You know, I'm done with this guy, man. So, it is what it is, right? I don't like this guy at all. And I put up with it for far too long. I tried to make it work, and it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. So, it is what it is. And he said, my boss, before I was leaving, he said, you know, I'm glad you came to me about this today because I'm working on the schedule for next week, and, you know, I'm going to shift some stuff around now. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah. This is probably going to mess up my weekly schedule, and also it's going to mess up my Saturdays probably, because it seems like, he also asked me, you know, what about you know, you okay with working Saturdays? I said, yeah. So, I'm probably going to be working Saturdays for the foreseeable future. So, on the one hand, that sucks. On the other hand, it is what it is, right? I would rather not work with this guy anymore. Because this guy, there's something wrong with him, man. There's something wrong with him. You know, I don't like to really say that about people, but there is something wrong with him, for sure. So, but there's probably going to be more to this, because, well, tomorrow I'm going to see that store manager to tell him as well, let him know what's going on. I'm probably going to, you know, go to work early, so go there and be like, hey, I need to talk. And just explain what's going on. I've told my boss already, but I want to make sure I tell him as well. So, but yeah, with that, I think I'm feeling a little better, especially knowing that he's like, you're not going to get fired. He's going to get fired way before you. But I also can't deny that I still think it just feels fucking horrible for this guy to be, you know, trying to get me fired in the first place. But here's the thing, right? I did not mention anything about the recording. So, I just mentioned what he said. And tomorrow when I go to the store manager, if he's like, well, you know, whatever, I could be like, listen, I have a recording of it. I have a recording of the confrontation. I have a recording of him saying that he's trying to get somebody fired after a personnel dispute. Take a guess who that is. So, that is basically my trump card at this point, right? And this guy has revealed his whole hand. I know what he's trying to do. I know he's trying to go through the union. I know he's trying to talk to every single management person he can to tell them about what a piece of shit I am. But I have proof, right? Because I have this recording of him going off on me. And I also have literally like 20 pictures, I think, of checklists that I've done where it shows how much work I'm doing in comparison to him. And it's kind of crazy, you know? And, oh yeah, one more thing I forgot about too, is because I was telling my manager, right? Because he was saying, Brian was pissed about the floor, right? About having to do the floor while I had to vacuum my hands. He was freaking out about that the other day. And, he was telling me that, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. Because that's all stuff you're supposed to do after you're closed. If I ever have to work with him again, which I'm probably not going to, and I'm probably going to call out this Thursday, if, still working with him. If I ever work with him again, bro, I'm leaving all that stuff, bro. So, good luck. Good luck. But, yeah, feeling a little better about it, but tomorrow is going to be the real kind of thing. But also, I will mention, too, I almost forgot. Before I left, I wanted to just say bye to the people in the deli. So, I was talking to her. I was just like, I just wanted to say, have a good night. She was like, is everything going well? And I was like, yeah, I just need to talk to my boss, or I just need to talk to our boss. Because, there was an incident last night, and she looked, and she was like, because she fucking despises this guy too. She utterly hates this guy. And she was like, she knows. I said it too. I said, I'm not gonna say she's like the greatest person in the world, right? There are some gripes I have with her too, but it's nothing compared to this guy. This guy, he's a piece of shit to everybody. He doesn't want to do work. And I'm done with it. So, it's whatever, right? So, with that, I am going to go call my other coworker to let him know this guy's in a crazy mood today. Okay, he's going to be in a crazy mood. So, I'm just giving you a heads up now. So, yeah. Should be something, right? Should be something. But yeah, I guess that's it.